Hello friends, my name is Ryan. I'm going to tell you a story named The Demon's Lair, a Haveli that devours the living, which is a very amazing story full of twists. So, let's start. It was a chilly winter evening in a remote village nestled in the heart of Rajasthan. The wind howled through the ancient trees, and the scent of earth lingered in the air after a light drizzle. The village was known for its vibrant culture and colorful traditions, but it harbored a sinister secret that no one dared to speak of: an abandoned Haveli at the edge of the forest, shrouded in mystery and fear. The Haveli, known as Kala Mahal, was said to be cursed. Stories of its dark past echoed through the village. They spoke of a wealthy merchant who had built the Haveli centuries ago, only to vanish along with his entire family one fateful night. No one knew what had happened, but eerie screams and whispers were said to echo from the Haveli every full moon. Villagers claimed that anyone who dared to enter never returned. Despite the warnings, curiosity often got the better of the brave and the foolish. Ramesh, a young man new to the village, had heard these stories but scoffed at them. Ghosts, he laughed one evening at the chai stall. They're just tales to scare children. There's no such thing as curses. The villagers exchanged uneasy glances. An elderly man, Ravi, spoke up. Kala Mahal is not just a story, son. I've lived here my entire life. I've seen people go there and never come back. If you value your life, stay away. But Ramesh's pride wouldn't let him back down. That night, armed with nothing but a flashlight and his confidence, he ventured into the forest, determined to uncover the truth about the Haveli. The path to Kala Mahal was overgrown and treacherous. The trees seemed to close in on him, their branches resembling twisted hands reaching out to grab him. As he approached the Haveli, the temperature dropped, and an unnatural silence enveloped the air. Even the crickets had ceased their song. The Haveli stood before him, imposing and decayed, with vines crawling up its walls. Its large wooden doors were slightly ajar, creaking as they swayed in the wind. Ramesh hesitated for a moment, a shiver running down his spine. Then, shaking off his fear, he pushed the doors open and stepped inside. The interior was eerily intact, as though time had frozen within its walls. Chandeliers hung from the ceiling, their crystals glinting faintly in the dim light. The air smelled of damp wood and decay. Ramesh's footsteps echoed as he explored the grand hall. He found dusty furniture, cobweb-covered paintings, and a staircase leading to the upper floors. Suddenly, he heard it, a faint whisper. He froze, his heart pounding. The sound grew louder, more distinct, and seemed to come from all around him. It was a woman's voice, pleading. "Help me, save me." Ramesh's courage faltered. He called out, "Who's there?" His voice echoed through the empty halls, but there was no response. The whispering stopped, replaced by an oppressive silence. As he turned to leave, something caught his eye, a glimmer of light from a doorway at the end of the hall. Unable to resist, he approached the door and pushed it open. Inside was a small room, empty except for a mirror hanging on the far wall. The mirror was pristine, untouched by the decay surrounding it. As Ramesh stepped closer, his reflection wavered, and to his horror, it wasn't his face staring back at him. The figure in the mirror was a gaunt, pale woman with hollow eyes and long, tangled hair. She reached out, her hand pressing against the glass as though trying to escape. Ramesh stumbled back, his flashlight flickering. The woman's lips moved, and her voice filled the room. "Leave before it's too late." Before Ramesh could react, the door slammed shut behind him. The room plunged into darkness, and the whispers returned, louder and more frantic. Panicking, he fumbled with the doorknob, but it wouldn't budge. The temperature dropped further, and he felt a presence behind him. Turning slowly, he saw the woman from the mirror standing there, her hollow eyes fixed on him. "You should have listened," she said, her voice echoing unnaturally. Ramesh screamed, and everything went black. The next morning, the villagers found Ramesh's flashlight and shoes at the edge of the forest, but there was no sign of him. They knew better than to search for him in Kala Mahal. His disappearance became yet another tale to warn the curious and the reckless. But the story doesn't end there. Weeks later, strange things began happening in the village. people reported seeing Ramesh at night, wandering aimlessly near the forest. His eyes were vacant, and his movements were jerky, as though he were a puppet on strings. When anyone approached him, he would vanish into thin air. One night, Ravi, the elderly man, saw Ramesh standing outside his hut. Gathering his courage, he stepped out and called to him. "Ramesh, is that you?" Ramesh turned slowly, his face pale and lifeless. "Kala Mahal must be destroyed," he said in a hollow voice. "It hungers. If it isn't stopped, it will devour us all." And just like that, he disappeared. The villagers were terrified. They held a meeting to decide what to do. Some suggested burning down the Haveli, but others warned that it might anger whatever entity resided within. Ravi proposed seeking help from a priest known for his knowledge of the supernatural. The priest arrived a few days later, a wise and calm man named Swami Anand. He listened to the villagers' accounts and agreed to help. Armed with holy relics and prayers, he led a group of brave villagers to Kala Mahal. The journey to the Haveli was tense, and the group's resolve was tested as the forest seemed to come alive with sinister sounds. When they reached the Haveli, Swami Anand began chanting, his voice steady and strong. The atmosphere grew heavier, and the ground trembled as though the Haveli itself was resisting. As the group ventured inside, the whispers returned, but Swami Anand's chants grew louder, overpowering them. In the room with the mirror, he placed a sacred symbol on the glass. The mirror cracked, and a blood-curdling scream filled the air. The figure of the woman appeared one last time, her expression a mix of relief and sorrow. "Thank you," she whispered before fading away. The Haveli began to collapse, forcing the group to flee. Once outside, they watched as the cursed mansion crumbled into rubble, leaving nothing but dust and silence. The villagers felt a sense of peace they hadn't known in years. Ramesh was never seen again, but the sightings of his ghost ceased. The villagers believed his soul, like the woman's, had found peace. So, friends, that was the story of the demon's lair, a Haveli that devours the living. If you enjoyed this suspense-filled tale, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories. Until next time, stay safe and beware of the unknown.